So these right here are the fights that need to be made next after UFC 313. Let's start off with the main event. We have got Magomed Ankalaev as the new UFC light heavyweight champion. Magomed Ankalaev beat Alex Pereira by decision. Look, what a close fight that was. I mean, we all know what the next fight is for Magomed Ankalaev. It is the rematch against Alex Pereira. Their first fight was so close. Dana White has already showed interest in the rematch. It's the fight that makes the most sense in the light heavyweight division. I know some people are against giving people immediate title rematches, but the work Pereira had done, especially in the last year, defending the belt 3 times, I think he does warrant himself an immediate title rematch. And when you look at the landscape of the light heavyweight division, who would fill in for Alex Pereira to face Magomed Ankalaev next? Now, say Pereira maybe wants to take a lot of time off, and Ankalaev, who isn't known for being active, wants to make a quick turnaround. You could maybe go Yuri Prohaska, who's coming off a big win off Jamal Hill. But realistically, Pereira is the guy to fight Ankalaev next. The rematch has to happen. Like I said, the first fight was extremely close. I think you have to score the fight 3-2. I don't see any alternative. I've seen someone say 5-0 Ankalaev. Obviously wasn't watching the fight. I've seen people say 4-1 Ankalaev as well. Again, I don't see it. Round 1, Pereira. 2, clearly Ankalaev. That's a round where he hurt Alex Pereira. Round 3 is the big one. That's the round that dictates everything. That is the round that kind of picks the winner of the fight. Round 3 is who it comes down to. Now, I think the right man won in Magomed Ankalaev. When I went back and rewatched round 3, now when I was watching the fight live, when I was doing my watch along, I thought it was 3-1 going into round 5 Ankalaev. So I had scored round 3 to Magomed Ankalaev. Then after all the social media backlash of people saying Pereira won that, I thought I'll go back and watch round 3 because that is the round that decides the fight. Went back and rewatched it, and I did find myself being a bit biased towards Alex Pereira because I wanted Pereira to win. So I was trying to look for any excuse for me to be like, well, that's why Pereira won that round. But really, if I take my bias out of it, I do think Magomed Ankalaev deserved to get his hand raised. It was an extremely close fight. It really, really was. Like I said in my UFC 313 reaction to the card, the fight did not play out how I expected it. I believe Magomed Ankalaev outstruck Alex Pereira. Now, he did throw more, so therefore he landed more, which is pretty common, to be honest. I know sometimes people can throw more and land less, but it is pretty common. The more strikes you throw, the more you're going to land. You had that. Another key stat that was shown was the control time for Magomed Ankalaev, which was 5 minutes 42 seconds. He did shoot 12 takedowns on Alex Pereira, secured none of them. A part of me feels like if you've shot 12 takedowns and your opponent has defended all 12 of them, there has to be a reward for the person defending it. I don't know if this is just me saying this because I wanted Pereira to win. Maybe if it was another matchup where I wanted the grappler to win, I'd maybe say, no, that shouldn't be the case. You know what I mean? It's just one of those things, really. The control time, though, the 5 minutes 42 seconds, I don't know, it might just be me again. I don't agree with that because holding someone against the cage and just stalling, it isn't like really controlling them. Like, I would understand if you scored control time. Say Magomed Ankalaev took Alex Pereira down and Pereira was trying to work his way up against the cage. He was trying to pop back up, but Ankalaev was just able to grab an ankle, pull him down and secure him and control him. I'd understand that as control time if I'm making sense. But holding the guy against the cage where you're both landing shots, like, it's not as if Ankalaev did outstrike him in round 4, don't get me wrong, but it was just wee pity patter shots. There was no real damaging shots done in that round. I feel like that there control time, to kind of like reward someone for stalling out a fight, I don't know, it just doesn't sit well with me in my opinion. But this is the matchup to make. It has to be the rematch, Pereira Ankalaev. Does Pereira win the rematch? I'm going to say yes. I am going to say yes. It was extremely close. I thought Pereira came out really well in round 5. Ankalaev let the fight kind of slip away from him in round 5. I thought we could have had a draw maybe because of round 5. But I think Alex Pereira will make the correct adjustments, being you have to lead the dance. You can't be constantly put on the back foot. I also feel like Pereira and a lot of the fans, including myself, kind of were relying on Ankalaev's like lack of leg kick defense to play an even bigger factor in this fight. Like, I just kept going back to look what Jan Blachowicz done to him with the leg kicks. And then I was thinking, well, Pereira's a better leg kicker than Jan, so Pereira's obviously going to mess him up even more. It wasn't the case. Also, Pereira just did look so much slower than Ankalaev in there, if we're being honest. I mean, when they went to the corners and Ankalaev's corner was like, you're faster than him, I thought, so they're just lying. They're just straight up lying to Ankalaev. But when you watch the fight, Pereira looked so much slower than Ankalaev in there. I don't know if there was something wrong with Pereira that might come out in time. Him talking about maybe an injury going into this fight, who knows? But I think the activity of Pereira, activity is good for fighters. It really, really is in my opinion. But too much activity can be a downfall as well. And I think that might be what we're seeing, or what we've seen with Alex Pereira. But that is the fight to make. The light heavyweight division needs it. There is no other fight that makes sense. It's the rematch, Alex Pereira, Magomed Ankalaev. When it takes place, I'm unsure. More than likely going to take place in the Middle East, if we're being honest, which won't help Pereira if he can't knock out Magomed Ankalaev, who has a chin on him, if we're being honest. Moving on to the co-main event, we have Justin Gaethje. Look, this is not the fight that I want to see next for Justin Gaethje, but Islam Makhachev has called out Justin Gaethje, and Dana White really did hint towards him fighting Islam Makhachev next. It's not the fight that I want to see. He's not on a win streak. He's coming off a win over an 11th ranked Rafael Fiziev, who took the fight on short notice. And the fight before that, he got flatline KO'd by a featherweight moving up to the lightweight division. I don't see how you can give him the title shot. Like, Oliveira is more deserving over Justin Gaethje right now. Arman Tsarukyan just should be Islam Makhachev's next opponent. I'm just going to be honest. I know he kind of fucked up UFC 311 by pulling out injured, but he is the guy who deserves to fight Islam. If not Arman, Ilia Topuria, that's the fight I want to see next. I understand people say Ilia doesn't deserve it. I do understand that. I'm an Ilia Topuria fan though, so I'm kind of all for this matchup. This is like a dream matchup for me, but if it was any other fighter in Ilia Topuria's situation moving up after one title defense and looking to fight the champion in the division above, I would be against it. I'm going to be honest, so I'm being biased towards Topuria. Although the 2 back-to-back wins Topuria has are arguably the best in UFC history, knocking out Volk and knocking out Max Holloway. I would love to see the trilogy between Justin Gaethje, Dustin Poirier, but Gaethje in his post-fight speech kind of hinted that he doesn't want to have that fight. The Dan Hooker one, yes, I wouldn't mind if they rebooked that. Arman Tsarukyan's an interesting one, honestly. What I think they should do is have Justin Gaethje versus Ilia Topuria and have Arman Tsarukyan fight Islam Makhachev. However, Justin Gaethje suggesting he might have a broken hand in the cage after UFC 313, and Ilia Topuria saying he's got fight announcements coming soon. So maybe it's obviously not going to be Justin Gaethje. Gaethje's just fought, but if Ilia Topuria doesn't get booked to fight Islam Makhachev next, I think they do Justin Gaethje, because Dana White is adamant that Arman Tsarukyan isn't fighting Islam Makhachev next. So I think there's a high possibility. Dana White's kind of hinted at it. Islam Makhachev has called him out. Islam mauls Justin Gaethje, by the way. Like, that fight doesn't even go past 2 rounds. It's not the fight that I want to see, but I'm trying to be realistic here in the matchmaking. I think this is the fight that might happen next. Moving on, we've got Rafael Fiziev, obviously coming off a big injury. He had been out for over a year, I believe, where he blew his knee out in the Mateus Gamrot matchup. Rumours were he was meant to rematch Gamrot in February. Gamrot didn't take the matchup. Fiziev stepped in there, looked great against Justin Gaethje in the first round and the start of the third round. Was very unlucky. He did visibly slow down in round 3, but he's been known for that. I don't think Rafael Fiziev has the greatest cardio, to be honest. What I think should be next for him, yes, he did take a lot of swelling and bruising around his face, and he was dropped, but I think him and who I'm suggesting, Bahamontes, could be on very similar time schedules. Obviously, Bahamontes just got a first round finish over Jalen Turner, retiring him. Jalen Turner is officially retired. I think that was probably the right move for him, because bro was heading to the GFL if he didn't retire, let's just be honest. But Bahamontes, 3-fight win streak, 3-fight finish streak. He will now be ranked just outside the top 10. Very similar to Rafael Fiziev, who is ranked just outside the top 10. Stylistically, a really, really fun matchup, in my opinion. I would love to see this. This would be a great pay-per-view main card opener or a co-main event to a UFC fight night in a crowded arena. That there is just fireworks, that fight. Rafael Fiziev, Bahamontes, unbelievable matchup. And finally, the last matchup that I've made is Mauricio Ruffy got that spinning wheel kick KO, or spinning heel kick KO, sorry, over Bobby Green. Just match him up against Beneil Dariush. Now look, you could probably argue Bahamontes deserves a jump up into the top 10 over Mauricio Ruffy, and you'd be 100% right, but Mauricio Ruffy called for this matchup. I think you can make this fight relatively quickly. He took no damage against Bobby Green. Beneil Dariush was obviously in training camp for Money Moicano for UFC 311. We all know what happened with that matchup. Moicano got pulled out of that matchup to face Islam Makhachev, and Beneil has kind of been put on the sidelines. I also like this matchup for Beneil Dariush as well. If he can get a win, yes, Mauricio Ruffy is unranked, but the guy is on a big, he's got not a big win streak. I think he's on a 3-fight win streak now, but he's got a lot of hype behind him. The fighting nerds have a lot of hype behind them, and I think I like Beneil Dariush. I think he was at a time one of the most underrated fighters, probably the most underrated fighter in the lightweight division. Obviously, things haven't really played out for him since against Arman Tsarukyan and Charles Oliveira, but those are the best of the best the lightweight division have to offer outside of Islam Makhachev, if we're being honest. I like this matchup. If Mauricio Ruffy can beat Beneil Dariush, it's a big name on his resume, and he could get a big highlight reel KO in this one, because Beneil Dariush is kind of chinny as well. He is there to be KO'd. We've seen that in his last 2 performances as well, even throughout his career. But if Beneil Dariush can beat Mauricio Ruffy, you're right back in there. You've got a big name prospect behind you, and then you can look to get a matchup maybe in the top 5, something like that. Does that make sense? I think it makes sense. Those are the right matchups to make for you for after UFC 313. Let me know what matchups you want to see in the comments below. And as always, like, share, subscribe, comment, all that good stuff. Thank you as always for the support. 1K is on the way. And I will see you again in the next one. Goodbye.